In this video, we'll be looking at how teachers can remove barriers to learning for learners with EAL by using visuals, which present information in non-verbal manner during the home learning period. For instance, on the left here, we can see an illustration of a scene from Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, and on the right, a graphic showing a cycle. Neither use any words. For the purposes of teaching and learning, three types of visuals are recognized. The first one is a photograph. The second one is an illustration, a drawing, but not a camera image. And the third is a graphic organizer, a specific type of drawing, such as a Venn diagram or a chart. So what are the benefits of using visuals? First of all, many are universal. They can convey meaning and be understood without needing to use language. If the image here represents the English world, or French le monde, or Polish świat, the message carried across by the image is clear to all without a need for a dictionary. Secondly, visuals, particularly photographs and illustrations, can show different meanings in different contexts of use of a word. For example, the two images next to number 2 represent the word cycle, either the verb to cycle, as in use a bike, or a cycle, as in a cycle of change, or a vicious cycle. Thus, visuals can help learners distinguish between meanings where a word carries more than one. Thirdly, visuals allow you to lower the verbal English language demands on the learner without necessarily lowering the cognitive demands of tasks. Images can be used to convey highly academic concepts, overriding language barriers. Finally, learners can take advantage of visuals themselves in order to clarify their thinking and present the knowledge they possess by drawing a diagram, for instance, and presenting information on PowerPoint through images. It is yet another way through which they can express themselves. Course books, textbooks, worksheets, and activities may typically contain a lot of text, but they include visuals as well. Non-verbal materials such as pictures, diagrams, and charts can be used as a source of information and alternatives to text. Such materials can also help set the scene, provide context, make topic less abstract, and encourage learners to think more creatively about the topic, which in turn helps learners to activate language associated with it. Here we have two examples of visuals from an AQA Key Stage 3 science student book. We could use the image and ask the students to, for example, guess how they are related, they are twins, or describe the similarities and differences between these twins, which can introduce the topic of twins and genetic variability before they read the text. Learners could also use the scatter diagram below to complete a differentiated task, for instance, a gap-fill task based on a text describing the data presented, the gaps being language-based rather than content-based. For instance, removing all the verbs rather than scientific keywords. You could also use open tasks, allow learners to complete an activity according to their level of proficiency in English. For instance, some learners might add more details or use more connectives or a wider range of tenses. If there are enough images in a book, chapter, or a unit, the images could be used as a stimulus for a learner to recap a previous lesson or for a plenary. Equally, you can use visuals in addition to what you're already using in your lesson. Images and illustrations will facilitate understanding of your content for your learner. There are a couple of ways in which to do this. First of all, flashcards could be used. If it is possible for the learner to print your flashcards at home and cut them up, they could practice using flashcards. For example, with picture on one side and English captions on the other, with their parents. If printing is not possible, there are online services that will do the same job. For example, it is as easy to set up in Quizlet. Word mats can be used to remind learners of a group of words or phrases. In the middle of the slide, we can see an example of a word mat pictures with captions for the topic of Tudors for the subject of history. Finally, larger posters with images or captions can be used as well to help learners acquire vocabulary and refer to them when needed. Here we simply mean digital posters found online, which could be printed or simply kept on a computer at home to be referred to when necessary. Teachers' instructions can be difficult to follow by learners with EAL in regular classroom context, particularly where learners are on lower bands of English language acquisition. Ensuring that they do understand instructions might be even trickier in the current lockdown situation where you cannot be in the same room as they are. Visuals, illustrations, or photos can be very helpful in showing a sequence of instructions. In the example here, taken from our own heating loss experiment activity, we can see how pictures can help. It is very likely that even if we removed all the text from this activity, the learners would know what to do. Such sequences of instructions can also be numbered for greater clarity, of course. We can also add images to the resources themselves. For instance, we could add photos or illustrations to show our learners what particular words, such as keywords, mean. On the left here, we can see such an example in one of our EAL Nexus resources. In the summary of several chapters of Stone Cold, a book by Robert Swindells, often taught in Key Stage 3, the keywords printed in blue have their image equivalents throughout the resource. In the images on this slide, taken from our resource for a lesson on Alfred Tennyson's The Charge of the Light Brigade, the entire sentence is represented by illustrations on the left. Cavalry officer is presented in the first image, and a battle and a charge in the second. Many high-quality images, photos and illustrations can be found at pixabay.com. Pixabay's license allows the images to be used for free, even for commercial purposes. Advanced Google search will also produce a number of images. The search engine will allow users to filter the results by appropriate license too. Graphic organizers are also sometimes known as key visuals. They are not simply images, they are ways of presenting information visually. There are many different types of graphic organizers. Some of the main ones are table, chart, Venn diagram, fishbone, timeline, and pyramid. Here we can see examples of a timeline, a cause and effect fishbone, and a pyramid for ranking a number of items. Graphic organizers are useful for learners at different levels of English language proficiency. They show more complex concepts non-verbally, present relationships between different concepts, for instance, above, how several causes link to an overall effect in the fishbone. They make academic concepts clearer, and because of their non-verbal nature, they allow to keep cognitive demands of lessons high despite any existing language barriers. Searching for graphic organizers on Google will produce a number of websites with ready-made graphic organizers. There are also websites out there that generate graphic organizer worksheets. One such website is graphicorganizer.net. This particular website allows you to create such a worksheet and export this to a PDF file, which you could share online with your students. But if you would like to make a graphic organizer of your own, probably the easiest approach to take is use Microsoft's SmartArt function. It has a number of ready-made graphic organizers that you can put into Word and PowerPoint applications and edit with your textual content as you see fit. A word of caution in terms of using images. As learners with EAL come from a variety of countries and different cultures, it is useful to remember that they might interpret certain images differently. For instance, all these free images found on the free image platform pixabay.com mentioned earlier present a village. But the free villages differ quite significantly from one another. When choosing images for your lessons, it is useful to consider whether or not they carry cultural meanings and connotations that your learners with EAL might be unaware of. In summary then, visuals are a very useful tool which can enable learners with EAL to understand the content of the lesson better and be able to express their thoughts and knowledge on the topic. To differentiate for learners with EAL using visuals, you can use photos and pictures, design your activities around visuals already present in your materials, add visuals to your activities and resources, and use graphic organizers to present more complex academic concepts. For further CPD opportunities, the Bell Foundation also runs regular webinars. To sign up to upcoming webinars and to view recordings of previous webinars, go to the Bell Foundation website and then EAL Program, Training, Webinars. You may also be interested in signing up to one of the Bell Foundation online courses running in the coming months, which you can also sign up to on the website. Thank you once again, and please keep up all the great work.